Welcome to a place where hearts unwind, infinite threads that gently bind, love and compassion in every line. Together we rise through space and time.
Hey, welcome back to Infinite Threads. I'm your host, Bob. The other day I found myself driving a road I hadn't traveled in quite a while. You probably have one of those roads too. The kind where every curve feels familiar. You don't need directions and you don't need a GPS. Your hands seem to know where to turn before your mind even thinks about it. As I drove, something strange happened. I started seeing two roads at the same time. There was the road in front of me, and there was the road I remembered. The actual road hadn't disappeared, but it wasn't exactly the same either. A field I remembered was now a housing addition. A small business was gone. A stand of trees had vanished somewhere along the way. The landmarks that once told me exactly where I was had slowly changed without asking my permission. And for a few moments, I found myself feeling something that's difficult to describe. Not sadness and not happiness either. Something in between. I think it was the realization that time leaves fingerprints on places, just like it does on people. When we're young, we assume the world around us is permanent. The roads will always be there. The houses will always be there. The stores we visit will always be there. Then life teaches us otherwise. A building comes down, a business closes, a family moves away, a gravel road becomes pavement. Little by little, the landscape evolves. Most of the time, we don't notice because we're changing right alongside it. But every now and then we return to a place we haven't seen in years, and suddenly the passage of time becomes visible. I grew up in Liberty Mounds, and like a lot of people, I can still mentally walk through parts of my childhood without much effort. I remember where things were. I remember who lived in certain houses. I remember roads that seemed enormous when I was young. It's funny how much smaller everything looks when you return as an adult. What felt like a great distance becomes a short drive. What felt like a giant hill becomes a giant slope. The world changes, but so do we. And maybe that's why certain roads affect us so deeply. They're not really taking us from one location to another. They're carrying us through different versions of ourselves. The teenager who traveled that road, the young adult who traveled that road, the person sitting behind the wheel today. They're all connected. Yet, they're not exactly the same person. As I continued driving, I found myself thinking about how much of life is spent moving forward. We're usually focused on what's next. The next project, the next weekend, the next chapter. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing at all. Life requires forward motion. But every once in a while, a familiar road reminds us to glance backward for a moment. Not to live there, just to appreciate the distance we've traveled. I think that's one reason reunions can feel so emotional. Not because we're trying to become who we were, but because we're suddenly able to see the entire journey. The victories, the mistakes, the unexpected turns, the people who walked beside us for part of the way. All of it becomes visible. A road can do that too. A simple drive can become a conversation with your own history. And if you listen carefully, the road has something interesting to say. It says that change is unavoidable, but it also says that change isn't the same thing as loss. The old landmarks may be gone. The old businesses may be gone. The old version of you may be gone. Yet something remains. The experiences remain. The lessons remain. The memories remain. Thank goodness. The person you became remains. By the time I reached my destination, I realized the road hadn't really taken me home. Not in the literal sense. The home I remembered exists mostly in my memory now. The people, places, and circumstances that created it belong to another chapter. But that didn't make the drive disappointing. Quite the opposite. It made me grateful. Grateful that those places existed. Grateful that those years happened, and grateful that pieces of them still travel with me wherever I go. Maybe that's what familiar roads are really for. Not helping us return to the past, helping us understand how the past helped build the person making the journey today. And every now and then, that's a pretty wonderful thing to remember. I love you all very, very, very much. And you know what I need you to do, right? Go out there and pass that on, okay? Later, Gators. Bye-bye.
Fears.